Very soon, I'm certain. This is Rogue Diabetic, and welcome to the guys that has to go up on BitChute if I ever can get it uploaded. I've been trying to I've started. This is something that's is yet another way that they are keeping information out of the public domain about what's been going on for the past almost 5 years now. They don't, and particularly what's been going on over the past 2 years and 3 months, and the pandemic, the national emergency. Trump called the national emergency. Ever since then, there's been this concerted effort to silence certain voices, particularly voices on certain topics. And lately, over the past few, really just a couple weeks, I really noticed a difference. It's been going on for a while. For example, I used to have a YouTube channel. And I had a YouTube channel called Ryan Gurney. It's still up. Lost that channel due to the password. And if you lose your password to Gmail and you don't have a way to recover it, and they have for a long time. Google's really cool. It was still pretty cool for a while. But then it was about in 2018. Well, it started before that, but then about 2018, they really started to wreck. To do research on stocks and financials and business type stuff, and it was totally free, And now there's not even subscription services that match the kind of information that you had access to that you could get a hold of on Google Finance. I mean, you would get real-time stock information. I mean, close. There was a little bit of a delay, but it was, it was pretty close to real time. And they had, upcoming news events that could change the price of the stock. You could look at their financials. You can look at them and like their balance sheet and their revenue, all those different types of financial situation, disclosure, movement. You could also look at they also had historical information on volume. There were all sorts of things that you could use to if you were into trading stocks or a number of different things. And then in about 2018, they just yanked that down. They yanked all that down. And Google Finance is worthless now, pretty much. I mean, if you go back to 2015, 2016, some of it was already there. Okay, for example, I'm a diabetic, and what diabetics are being told and what's true aren't the same things. Okay, and there was always a certain amount of censorship and shadow banning to any type of information that people might be equal company narrative that ran counter to any sort of narrative. See, right now it says my connection is unstable. This should be interesting. I'm pretty sure I'm the only one that's ever going to see this live. Also, when the shadow banning kicked into gear, started before that, fly off the rails. Whether it was leftist or rightist or Trumpist or orange man baddist, it didn't matter. Everybody could just let it fly on that as long as it was on politics. And every time they've ratcheted up on the political censorship, which is no day. Your platforms, the censorship has just gotten worse and worse and worse. And whether it was information about diabetes or whether it was criticism of mainstream science there were some things that got out there. Okay. And then a lot of it was like Flat Earth was one of them. Flat Earth and 9/11. Before 2018, they were letting quite a bit of that stuff get out. Where if you had to search it, okay, it wasn't like before I started researching Flat Earth, and it was in 2017. I never got anything in my recommended, or not anything that advanced a Flat Earth perspective or a Flat Earth cosmology. I might get something Flat Earth from time to time that would be just a debunking. That would show up in my stream, or that would show up in my feed. I mean, even like creationism and see, look, my connection is unstable. So with Flat Earth, it was like, but I never got anything that was like, I never got Rob Skiba or Eric Dubay or any of those people until I started searching Flat Earth. And then even after that, I mean, I searched Flat Earth until you knew what you were searching for. The only thing that you would get on Flat Earth was a pizza box with water spilling over the side. You know, the same straw man arguments that an ad hominem attack in second grade. At least in the first few results, at least in the top results, you would have to scroll down a little bit and push a little bit and dig a little bit. Or Eric Dubay was another one. And just so you guys know, just incidentally, Eric Dubay never ever in any of his videos, and he's no Christian. Okay, he's not a Christian. He's some kind of yoga guy. He's into that Eastern mysticism. But Eric never ever uttered an anti-Semitic peep. Okay. And that was part of the pretense in censoring Flat Earth content. And Eric Dubay was one of those people who had some of the most convincing Flat Earth videos. And he's one of the guys that swung me. Now, I knew right away that he wasn't a Christian, and that didn't sit well with me, but his arguments were his empirical arguments for a flat Earth were pretty much the best out there that I could find. I mean, even better than Skiba. Skiba was like, and I'm pretty sure Skiba, I'm sure he's an actor. He was an actor. He supposedly died of COVID, but then nobody could find his obituary after he died. Search Rob Skiba obituary, and you won't find it. You won't find the Rob Skiba that we knew, or that was presented to us. And so he was like, and he was a little weird and odd, and he was off into some weird odd stuff. But he had some there was some good content that came out of there that were like, I mean, where he did a good job of showing that Flat Earth cosmology was the biblical cosmology. Now, regardless of where you stand on the Bible or Christianity, you know, he made a pretty good case that the biblical cosmology was a flat Earth cosmology, and that there's a firmament. Okay, there's a solid barrier between heaven and earth, and we live under this solid barrier on a circle. There's an ice ring around the water that holds the water in. So, but I mean, like, but the point I'm trying to make is you had to search for that, and you had to dig a little bit to not just get the you know, the ad hominem and the straw man arguments from the standard cosmology, from the ball Earth, from the spinning ball world cosmologists, which is the only thing anybody's ever been presented with, pretty much. Like 97% of the people in the world have only ever been presented with this spinning ball world cosmology. And so people don't even know where to like begin to why like kind of got some of the terminology down and some of the personalities that were pushing it, that I was able to do searches that could dig up more and more proofs on flat Earth. For example, azimuthal equidistant map. And those are still some things that you can search and you can still get like, I mean, you're never going to get what I did back in 2017, getting decent, accurate presentations on what flat Earth cosmology is all about, what the actual premise is. But that's a good place to start. The Earth is a circle inside of a square. Okay, so it's okay. I mean, I have no problem with people thinking that the Earth is a pizza box or a box. This is a rectangle, but like a box, a square box, but it's got a circle inscribed in it. And Antarctica is a ring of ice that holds the water in. It's not flat like this book. Okay, so the water doesn't spill off the edge. There's a circle inside of it, and that holds the water in. And that's such a trope anyway. I mean, this whole idea that people were like that the algorithm was like encouraging people to get to like, they were just like randomly putting flat Earth videos into random people's YouTube feeds. People that were like, you know, people whose YouTube feed were full of Beyonce videos and football videos and maybe how-to videos on, you know, how to build a deck or whatever, or how to change your starter in your truck, or the idea that they were just like that these flat Earth videos were getting thrown into anybody's feed, just anybody's feed, is wrong. It was still searchable, but even the searchability of it was difficult. Now the other famous one was 9/11. Okay, and I came around on 9/11 doing YouTube video, searching YouTube and Google, and just Google and reading web, you know, going to websites and reading blogs and things like that. It wasn't just strictly YouTube, but it was like YouTube was part of it. But you couldn't just like, I mean, there was a ton of it took me 15 years to figure out 9/11. It was 2015. Okay, and Trump had already come down the escalator. So I was already attached to that. By the time I started looking at, you know, 9/11. And, you know, I remember thinking, I'll even back up even farther than that. I'm a diabetic. I'm a type 1 diabetic. And in 2011, I think it was. Is that right? That's crazy. I was almost dead. Okay, I was living on the streets in Phoenix. He was in the over 10%, which is dumb, which is incredibly dumb. Okay, so I wasn't doing a very good job of controlling my blood sugars. And so I ended up homeless. I was real sick. I was in the hospital several times in 2010, 11. I mean, like over half a dozen times. For either DKA, I had a toe amputation. So I'm sleeping on this retaining wall out in front of this library in Phoenix, Arizona. I'm like, hey, why don't I go into the library and use the computer to try to figure out what the fuck is going on. Because up to that point, I'd been getting a lot of lectures from people about how I started to try to, I needed to start to try, to take care of my diabetes. A lot of lectures from doctors and nurses and the like. Most of them overweight, which is connected, has a connection to diabetes. I wasn't overweight at the time. I was a type 1 diabetic. So anyway, I was like, yeah, I mean, it's like, I wasn't getting I didn't feel like I was getting told. I didn't feel like I was getting very good information or advice from the people that were supposed to be giving me, that were supposed to know. They were supposed to be giving reason to answers, and they were supposed to be giving good answers to good questions. And whenever I would ask a question like, what's a normal A1C? I would get a bullshit answer. It would either be, oh, well, ask your doctor. And then when I would ask a doctor, it would be like, oh, I'll ask a diabetes educator. And then when I would ask a diabetes educator, it would be like, if somebody actually gave me an answer other than ask some other expert, some other supposed expert, then it would be something like, well, it should be under 7%. Your A1C should be under 7%. And that would be about as far as it would go. So I started digging in on this because, quite frankly, up until maybe 2010 or 2011, well, it would have been 2011. What had to have been 2011 or maybe even 2012, but it was probably sometime in 2011. It is a measurement. It is a measurement, and it reflects an average blood sugar. Okay, it's not a direct measurement of your blood sugar like a finger stick is. But if you stick your finger and you give one of those AccuChecks, you measure your blood sugar with one of those meters, you get a measurement that's a point in time. Okay, so if I did it right now, it would tell me what my blood sugar is right now, which is an important piece of information. But an A1C reflects an average blood sugar over the preceding 3 to 4 months. But it's not a direct measurement of your blood sugar. It's a measure of the percentage of hemoglobin A1C cells that have been glycated. And that's an A1. It's glycated hemoglobin A1C. When you hear somebody say an A1C, and so a glycated hemoglobin A1C of 7% would roughly reflect an average of about 170. So that's so what I'm wondering is that really because I was aware that there was some sort of controversy over whether that was really whether that was an aggressive enough goal or not. And there seemed to be some ambiguity to me whether that was I wanted to know what a normal diabetic or a normal non-diabetic blood sugar was. Well, it turns out it's 83 milligrams per deciliter, and a normal non-diabetic should have an ideal A1C is going to be somewhere between 4.5% and 5%. So, and it's not and you can't just if you double a 4.5 and you get 9%, That's more like tripling your average blood sugar. So if you're into the 11s, you're into the like an average blood sugar of like in the 300s, which is like 5 or 6 times normal. And if it's consistently that high, it's going to cause problems. Okay, but if it's consistently below 7, it still could cause problems in the long run. Okay, and if you're already losing toes and having problems with kidney function and your eyes are going bad, which all these things were problems that I was having. If you're having nerve pain in your lower extremities, I had multiple of these complications that were anywhere from like fairly early onset to pretty advanced. And questions that I was getting from the people that were like, just from like doctors and nurses, it was either some sort of dodge, or it was either some sort of dodge answer, some sort of answer where they would dodge my fucking question, which pisses me off. Where they're all condescending and like think they're fucking smarter than me or something, and they aren't. They can't just answer the fucking question. So, but basically what I found out is this under 7 for selected patients was another thing. It was like, just not any diabetic can have under 7. What I found out is that if you do certain things, under 7 is not a problem. Even though if you don't do these certain things, which they tell you not to do, then under 7 is like almost fucking impossible. Okay, and it revolves around how much carbohydrate you eat, because your body turns carbohydrate into sugar. Okay, it doesn't turn fat into sugar. And protein, it can turn into sugar, but it takes longer, and it doesn't spike your blood sugar the same way that carbohydrate does. And it doesn't require as much insulin to counteract the sugar, or to metabolize the sugar created from protein as it does to metabolize the sugar created from carbohydrate. So the obvious intuitive logical answer is to cut fucking carbohydrate. But these motherfuckers are like telling people to eat 200 or 300 grams of carbohydrate a day. Right? And to not eat any fat or protein, basically. And I'm a little bit rusty on my argument with it because it's been so long. Because it's like to me, it's not even an argument anymore. It's not even like, it's just what's true. But carbohydrate is mostly found in non-meat foods, like plant food. And fat and protein is mostly found in animal food, like bacon, eggs, and T-bones. Okay, so fat and protein come together. Carb comes separate. So they're telling people not to eat any fat and protein, and they're ending up on in order to hold the carbohydrate down to any sort of reasonable level, it ends up being a diet where you're only eating like 800 to 1,200 calories a day, which is impossible for most people to do over an extended period of time. But if you cut out the carbohydrate, you end up being able to somebody like me. I'm not a huge guy. 1,600 to 2,000 calories is plenty for me. And for for an average size type 1 woman, you're talking about, or any woman really, is plenty. if they're only eating carbohydrate and fat, or only protein and fat, and not any fucking carbohydrate. So they tell you to eat the things that you shouldn't and not eat the things that you should. And nobody can keep their fucking blood sugars under control. And those high carbohydrate diets end up being like, they end up requiring way more insulin, and you still can't control it. You can't control fucking blood sugars if you're eating 200 or 300 grams of carbohydrate a day. It's impossible. It's to try. So by 2015 or 2016, that was like, that I'd finally like completely realized. I mean, already really by 2012, that they were all their bullshit about diet, all the bullshit coming from the mainstream medical establishment and the government. Like, fuck the government and they're like bullshit about diet. Mind your own fucking business, motherfuckers, with your retard shit about diet. I'll eat what I want to fucking eat. And it would be one thing if they were right. It would be one thing if they were right, but they ain't even fucking right. But even if they were right, I mean, it's like, who cares? Who cares if this asshole wants to fucking die of a heart attack? Are you shitting me? And they don't care. Those people don't care. Okay? What they care about is making money. And when you tell a diabetic, when you scare a diabetic away from beef and eggs and pork and chicken and all the shit that's good for you, and you encourage them to eat cereal, they pretend like they don't, but they do. Then not only do you make more money on insulin, and I could go into a whole rampage about insulin and about how that's a con. But I'll just leave it for tonight. I'll just leave it at the idea that if you tell diabetics to only eat cookies and to treat their hypoglycemia with soda pop and to only eat bread and crackers and cookies and fruit and rice, then not only are you going to be able to sell a shitload more of insulin, sell more laser eye surgeries, you're going to be able to sell more kidney dialysis. These people are scumbag con artists. So by 2015 or 2016, I had figured that part of it out, right? But I was still so deeply ensconced in the left-right paradigm. I was still so beholden to this idea that it was just fucking communist Jews, and it was just Jews and not the Freemasons. And that there had to have been some doctors out there that I was still so beholden to that it was just the leftist extremists that I to the extent that I would acknowledge any sort of conspiracy, I would always chalk it up to it being a Marxist conspiracy. But it's not. And it's not isolated to just an attack on. It's not just about the carbohydrate. That's one thing that they're lying about. That they're lying about diets. That they're trying to make animal foods, or that primarily an animal food based diet is being somehow evil and selfish somehow. When in fact it's the natural diet that everybody should be on. It's the natural, healthy diet that everybody should be on. And to the extent that people do rely on some carbohydrate to fill things out, to round things out, it shouldn't be this highly processed, highly refined carbohydrate that they're shoving down everybody's throats. Okay. So, but it's not just confined to that. And so it was around 2015 that I started like there's this guy that I knew and he's like, oh yeah, 9/11 inside job. 9/11 is an inside job. And I'd heard it before. and I never and I kind of just shrugged it off. So I was like, all right, look. Because I had come to the decision that I was never going to be just because anymore. Because Fauci said, or because Bush said. I was like, if none of these with box cutters, then the facts would bear that out. After 15 years, if it was an inside job and not an Arab conspiracy, not a conspiracy of just like a handful of super radical Muslim extremists, then the facts would bear that out. And so, I mean, I wasn't scared of it because I was pretty confident, And this is a common story. Amongst conspiracy theorists. They start out saying to themselves, yeah, this will be a piece of cake. We all saw the planes, right? We all saw the planes crash into the buildings on 9/11. I mean, I did. I'm getting to be an old man, though. I'm almost 50. Okay, there's kids in their 20s that don't remember anything about it, and most of it's been flushed down. Most of it's been flushed down the memory hole. There was a group of kids that came up after me, maybe 5-10 years younger than me, that did cast a little bit more critical eye on it than I did. But they've all been silenced now. There were a group of my age, even older, that tried to apply some critical thinking skills to this, and they were all silenced. But I was like, okay, yeah. I mean, it's like you wanted me to watch this. That was an inside job, not a living inside job. So I watched it, and I was like, son of a bitch. Right? And so now nothing really ever nothing gets a pass. I mean, it was like so obvious just from watching that one video, and I was like, son of a bitch. How did I miss this? And I had remembered the smoking gun is built is Trade Center 7. Okay, no plane flew into Trade Center 7. The lady on CNN or BBC or whatever it was said it had collapsed before it collapsed. She said the Solomon Brothers Smith Barney building is just collapsed, and it's back behind her. You can see it still standing back behind her. And then when it does collapse, it collapses, bam, straight into its own footprint. Okay, like it was a controlled demolition. And I mean, it's like if you can't see that, then I don't know how to help you. I don't know how to help you, but I saw it and I was like, son of a bitch. How did I miss this? Right? But like I said, by that time I was already a Trump supporter. And how could have I got fooled by that asshole? How could have I still let myself be deceived by him? The snake? You knew I was a snake before you let me in. He's just punking you guys. Oh, silly woman, cried the reptile with a grin. So that was 9/11. And then a couple years later, and this is after Trump was already elected, then it was then a couple years later, it was Flat Earth. And there again, up until like 2018, this stuff wasn't like it wasn't like there was this mass. You had to be open. You had to be open-minded enough to consider it. To consider it as being a possibility, or at least open enough-minded to say to yourself, "Hey, you know, this is bullshit, and I'll swat this down in like 30 seconds." Because I was pretty sure on flat Earth. I don't know why exactly. That would be like end up being like I wouldn't be able to. It would be pretty easy to debunk because I had no idea what a firmament was. I had no idea what that meant. That means a solid stretched out covering is like the literal definition of a firmament, like a dome. I had no idea what that meant. So anyway, a buddy of mine starts asking me this. And he was back when I was still a conservative. He used to be like my sparring partner. He's a libertard. He's a leftist extremist, and I was a retardlican. And so he's talking about flat Earth, and I'm like, why is Sean asking me about flat Earth? I mean, no conservatives that I knew of, there were like, no mainstream conservatives that I knew of, were suggesting that flat Earth was in any way, shape, or form a thing. But apparently, there were people on the left pre-debunking, on the left wing extreme pre-debunking flat Earth. They were like trying to put flat Earth on people that were like, I was already a global warming denier for a long time, and an evolution denier too. Evolution is the dumbest fucking thing. I mean, that one wasn't like, and that goes a long way. And I was a young earther too. I was still like exploring some questions about like, because there seemed to be, to me, like there's some geological evidence that may have suggested that the Earth is older than 5,000 years old, over than 55,682 years old, or whatever it is. Or is it 5,862? Something like that. Or is it 5,782? It's something like that. Google Hebrew calendar year. And it'll give you exactly how old the Earth is. I used to say that if the Earth was a day older than 10,000 years, then it was probably more like 5.5 billion years. But now I've changed it to if it's like a day over 6,000 years, which it's not. So anyway, my friend was like asking me about flat Earth, and I was like, I don't know, Sean. I guess I never really looked into it. I mean, everybody knows the Earth is a ball and it spins, right? I never realized that was like an inquiry that people were making. And then I remembered this clip where Obama was like towards the end of Obama's first term or second term. He's like, "We don't have time for a meeting of flat side." He was talking about global warming. I'm like, what the fuck is Obama doing talking about global, like connecting global warming to flat Earth? What person that like doesn't believe in global warming believes that the Earth is a ball, or believes that the Earth is flat? I mean, most global warming deniers don't deny the Earth is a globe. And I'm like, well, what the hell is he talking? Well, why is he even like? Well, why are Sean and Obama talking about flat Earth? trying to turn me into a flat earther. And then I was like, well, after 18 years of no global warming, I guess maybe it's time to look into it. I guess maybe it's time for a meeting of the Flat Earth Society. And the Flat Earth Society, by the way, is controlled op 100% all the way. So I did. I looked into it, and it was like, and it was but it was faster than 9/11. It didn't take me. I wasn't like, my head wasn't spinning for like a month. I mean, it was within 2 or 3 days. I did go on a binge. I did go on a YouTube video binge, and I did look into some. I did, do searches besides units were for and against. Okay, because if the Earth isn't a ball, it's flat. If it's not flat, it's a ball. And within 2 or 3 days, I knew. And I knew, and I was like, I was kind of like Benjamin Owen at the first, or Owen Benjamin, whatever his name is. I was like, I don't want to be a flat Earth person. I wasn't quite that. I wasn't quite that torn up. There's what's true and there's what isn't true. And you can either be for what's true or you can be for what isn't true. And I wasn't going to be for something that wasn't true just so I could placate everybody else. Okay. Ships don't sail over the curve. Okay, they disappear past your vanishing point. Your eye can't angularly resolve objects beyond a certain point. But if you take a zoom camera and you look at a vessel, a ship that appears to have sailed over the curve, and you zoom in on it, it'll reappear from the top up, just like it appeared to disappear from the bottom down, as if it was sailing over the curve. Okay, so you're trying to tell me that a zoom lens can see through the curve? And I mean, like, and when you get to that point with people, I mean, I was scrambling on that one too. I was like, oh no. I mean, that's a pretty big, and there's no good answer, right? It's just like, you flat earther. All they can do is hurl insults at you and give you bullshit about refraction or whatever. Okay, you shouldn't be able to see if the Chicago skyline is obscured by the curve, then you shouldn't be able to see it from 60 miles away across a flat body of water. Because water always lays flat, does it not? 75% of the Earth is covered with water. But everybody is so convinced is fucking in this jack-off masturbatory space fantasy that Princess Leia or Padme Amidala is waiting for them to save her. That they cling to something that's demonstrably false. I mean, does water stick to your balls in the shower? I'm sorry, but does it? It's absurd. It's beyond absurd. So, anyway, so it's like I just snuck in on a lot of this right under the wire because in 2018 they started pulling the plug. That's when they came up with all these context boxes where they're just like flat denial. No. Where they just make these bald assertions that contradict whatever point somebody's trying to make without, like, using any evidence or logic to refute the argument. And like, I give a shit with fucking Wikipedia and YouTube. I mean, if you're trying to get both sides of the argument, you should be able to like they should be putting both sides of the argument on all these fucking ball Earth videos, or on the moon landing, or on these moon landing videos, or on these SpaceX videos. No, it's unbelievable. So yeah, so the censorship is really run off the rails, and it's getting worse and worse. Okay, so right now I have 9% uploaded to my of my video uploaded to YouTube after an hour. So that's over an hour. So we're talking about, 6-7 hours to upload this video. And I guess there's some things that I can, I'll keep trying. I'll continue to try. I'm going to have to end up shortening up my videos. I also have, for Terminus ad quem, I also have I've been doing those on my video editing software, on my screen share, on my screen recorder software. And I can compress those videos down to a smaller file size. So I still should be able to at least get those out to you. I can do shorter videos. I'm just going to have to be more careful about what I say. For the live streams, I don't know exactly what I'm going to do for the live streams. I'd like to keep this up. But there's Rumble. I have a Rumble channel. So maybe I probably should do a new channel trailer where I can just let you know where to find me. I can do my longer videos where my longer, less filtered. Yeah, but like on YouTube, I'll have to, other than on the live streams, I'll have to continue to just do short videos about my garden. My garden is like, I have to get out. I have to get out and do some work on it tomorrow. Otherwise, it's going to totally go to shit on me. The lettuce is coming very nice. That's the one positive thing I have to say. But the flower garden is struggling. I'm gonna have to we finally had a really hot day today, and so I'm gonna have to water tomorrow, even though it's supposed to rain tonight. I'm probably gonna have to water it every day next week, and 15th of January. Anyway, I love you guys. I don't know what else to say. It's almost over. It's almost over. They wouldn't have to do this to me. They wouldn't have to censor me if what I was saying wasn't true. They would have no reason to fear it. Nobody would watch. But there's got to be a reason. There's got to be a reason why they're amplifying Don Lemon's bullshit and Tucker Carlson's bullshit and Anderson Cooper's bullshit and Greg Geiss's, and deliberately suppressing mine. So anyway, I love you guys. Like, share, subscribe. Click the notification bell. I'm on I'm on BitChute, Rogue Diabetic. Are you ROGUEDIABETIC? Rogue Diabetic on BitChute, and also I think that's my Rumble too, but it's with a capital R on Rumble. Rumble with a capital R. I have a better chance of actually getting people to watch over there. I might get a fair shot of actually drumming up some viewership. I used to have on my last on Ryan Groney. Where I was going with this too is I had the first channel, Ryan Groney, that anymore, and that was back when I was still a Trump supporter. So if you do find it and you watch any of the videos, take all that with a grain of salt. There's a couple of them that are pretty good. The language is pretty off the hook and run off the rails, but that can kind of give you an idea. The second Ryan Groening channel that I had was the one that ended up getting taken down for community guidelines strikes. I had over 100. I had over 100 videos on that channel. It was like 120 videos done over the space of maybe like just right around a year. It was right around March of 2021 that I finally got my last strike, and I did most of my videos on that channel between March of 2020 and March of 2021. And I had 70 hard-won subscribers. I mean, I was still nowhere close to getting monetized or even having enough subscribers so I could go live on my phone. But I was still like, I still had like, and then just gone. I can't even remember what video finally got it taken down. But I remember during that, I was running pretty hard during the election, hammering Biden and Trump. And as long as I was sticking to hammering Trump, I was like, they were letting me get away with that. But if I hammered them both, and especially if it had anything to do with, especially if it had anything to do with wearing these. Is this some sort of conspiracy? Is that what you're saying? If it had anything to do with that, especially if it hits you close to home, especially. I mean, if I was on point with it, yeah, they didn't like that too much. So, and I probably went a little too far over the top. So, and unfortunately, this one, if I could get people to watch, if people cared to watch, because what you can do with the live streams is you can put them up and you can take them down, and you can get away with saying quite a bit for quite a while. But anyway, I love you guys. It's been an hour. I can't believe there's people out here that talk on these for 2 hours. But they're fun. It would be fun to have some interaction too. Because I know that there's still a few channels out there. Monograph has one. Where just the chats are fun. Even if you're not really listening to whatever it is that I'm saying, you just chat amongst yourself. So anyway, I'll keep trying. I love you guys. I'm out.